So, any other comments or questions? Thank you. Go ahead.
At the break, I was talking to somebody about this. It seems like here, we're all here for the same reason, and the context is hypnotic. And in a therapy session, the client is coming to you, aware of that. And I know that the point of this is not to go out in the world and find strangers and start talking to them and then just drop them to the floor. However, you know, the concept of covert conversational hypnosis like this, how do you, it seems, because it was happening with us a little bit here, there's this critical factor resistance that comes up.
Sure.
When it's kind of like, this, for us it's, okay, I know what you're doing, but we're in on it, so we let it happen. But when somebody says to themselves, like, this guy, something's not right.
Okay. Here's the and this is my own experience in this. It's actually easier out there than in here, because in here you know what I'm doing, or what each of you is doing, which is where that resistance comes from, because you have something to resist, because you know that it's in existence. Now, Jay, was it Jay? Jay gave us a beautiful example of this in action in the real world. The only time you get resistance in the real world is, and this is quite serious about this, is if you start being weird, you know? What's not you that you're not thinking about now as you go back in your past and think about those strange thoughts you had before? It's like, are you on drugs? Right? That is not conversational hypnosis. That is just socially inept hypnosis, right? So, I'll tell you about a friend of mine who used to be a coach, executive coach, and he had this great thing. This is actually not me, this actually is a friend. This is actually where I learned a lot of this from. And he would sit there, and it would be in a actually Fortune 20 company in the UK. It's an international one. And he'd sit there in their foyer with them, and he'd look at them, you know, just like they're the most important person in the world. And seriously, I almost fell off my chair when I actually heard him say this. He says, "How are you feeling right now?" I swear to God, this is exactly what he said. And he goes, "Oh, you know, I'm this and that." And he looks at her and goes, "No. How are you really feeling right now?" And she goes, you could see her begin to tremble. He goes, "That? What's that?" Tears. And I'm making a little bit up here because, you know, I can't quite remember the whole thing. And he starts going about, you know, where are you right now? And he goes, "Well, you know, it's hard to say. It's just so many things rushing at me." That's okay. Where are you right now? And she ends up regressing to like I don't know, 4 or 5, I don't know, something happened. And he goes, just be with that. How are you feeling right now? A lot better. You are, aren't you? You really are feeling a lot better. I'm using a little bit of my words now because I can't quite remember what he was saying, right? And she takes it like deeper and goes, "Yeah, you're feeling a lot better. It's great." So, and then he just changes the topic to something else. Right? Is that something you guys could do? Can you sense the reality of what I was talking about here? I saw it. It's like, this is genius. Seriously. This is genius. Because I was still in my NLP days, I was like, you know, and as you think about this colorful shifting thing, like, ooh, wow. And he's just sitting there. He's just sitting there and just looking at them and going like, but how are you really feeling right now? And like, he'd get 10 times more powerful response than I ever could. It took me like 6 months to figure out what the hell this guy was doing. And it is profound. And let's face it, we've all had moments like that. Not necessarily people who are consistently this way, but someone just looks at you in the right way, at the right time, says the right thing, that really touches you in a way that you needed. Right? That's what we're learning to do on purpose. Does that make sense to you? This is not play school hypnosis stuff anymore. We're beyond chicken wings. We're into a whole different territory. And I think you guys are experiencing it. And by the way, part of the reason I think you guys are resisting the process a little bit is because you know where this could lead to, and you may not necessarily want to go there in this context yet. And that's fine. You don't have to. But that's really all it is. Because if this was just one of these nice sort of Band-Aid hypnosis sessions where you get to relax and feel good, and the fairies could come out of the skies and give you a little kiss on the forehead, right? If that's all you were doing, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, then you'd be going, yeah, do me again. Whereas now what you're doing is you're placing your finger delicately, poised, on something which is so important to people that, of course, the defense mechanism is going to come up because they know it's coming, right? So you respect that. You can take them somewhere else so they don't have to go there. Or if they really do want to go there, you know how to get there. That's what we're talking about. Does that make sense to you guys? This is not something, this is another, going back to the old thing we talked about, hypnosis is anything but a casual relationship. I hope you're beginning to get a sense of what I mean by this now. And this should be something you track in your own experience, and the things that you've been doing that should fit what you guys have been doing, right? Is that a hand, or is that a... Yeah. I think it was first, then it'll be Philip.
You know, one of the funny things about this is that he used the word covert. And a covert statement is a negative, which he called my attention to yesterday. Through this whole process, I am achieving higher peak levels.
Yeah.
All right. And through higher peak levels of good feelings with everybody involved in here, that's not covert to me. That's allowing, see, we're all in here to gain experience to make somebody else feel better than they've ever felt, to bring them out of that box of mediocrity that almost everybody lives into. So, you know, I think it's like hypnosis, street hypnosis. Those are things that have attachments of negativity to them. And while I was talking to him, I didn't even realize my statements. Because, you know, my daughters will always correct me, Dad, that's negative. And I'm like, well, I didn't mean it that way. But then when you think about something in a covert field, I think we all have to clear our minds of the attachments of what society says hypnosis means, covert means. There's nothing covert about this. I want to make her smile. I want to make him smile. I want to make her feel good. And then in the process, I've made myself another peak experience for the day, which every session that we've gone into through this whole procedure, I come out feeling better, even though a couple of guys I've struggled with, but then I've stepped back and said, well, what about that interaction that really makes me feel good? Because that's my choice to feel good. It's neither negative or positive, it's the truth. So I'm not going to attach anything to it. I watch you and you have such a delightful demeanor that no matter what you say makes me feel good. And I think that's the whole focus that we're in here for, is to gain what you embody and to give it to everybody else that didn't value this meeting.
Amen to that. Seriously. You've literally touched on exactly what street hypnosis means to me. It's not what you see a lot of people on YouTube do, which is like, sleep and hand stuck to railing. Yay, look at that, isn't that funky? And by all means, do that if you want to do that for a while, because they find it fascinating, and as long as you do it respectfully, there's nothing wrong with that. It actually gets your skills up to a certain point too. But once you've done that for a while, so what? Where do you go from now? Where do you go from there? And that is exactly where you go from there. Why not create an environment around you where everyone's happy and having a great time and is lifted out of this bubble of mediocrity into this brave new world, which doesn't involve all the stuff that Book talked about. Right? So go ahead, Philip, who's next?
I've been kind of doing this work for a long time, and one of the things that I notice is that when I'm working with people, I see emotions in layers, things that are going on, and I know that my experience is that when I work down, like, what's going on with you, you know, what are you feeling, and what does that look like, and by the time I get to the third layer, I'm in charge. And you know, and that's when I take charge of the conversation, and then it's my game.
And in some respects, this is kind of what you're doing here. You're peeling the layers, the conscious layer off first. It's like their reasons and their excuses, and you'll peel a couple of extra on top of that. We're kind of aware of that. And then when you get to a layer where everything's fresh and new, or should we say has this reality tone to it, it's like real, rather than this pretend thing, this masking, like, I'm fine. Oh, I'm fine. There's a big difference between the two. When you find that, that's when you know you can do something.
And the other thing, you know, I try very hard. I use a lot of consciousness on making it look like a conversation rather than a technique.
Yes. And that's why we're here after all.
And I kind of sneak people into these states.
I totally agree. I think that's the way to do it. Denish? Sorry, so you. I'm having a blank moment. You. Rashid, there you go. Were you ahead? Okay, sorry.
I just wanted to add a little bit to what Barry was saying. And I've been caught doing that confusional language thing in the past, by the way. And I think it really is a lot about making it simple and being present and aware of what's in the room at that moment. And so I've been practicing like with the hotel staff. And so like when the waiter came this morning to bring coffee and I say hello, and you know, they're so used to people just ignoring them and it's all perfunctory. And so I kind of used a little H+. I said, no, how are you doing this morning? And I looked him in the eye, and the whole attitude shifted. And when I was leaving, you know, I stopped and I thanked him, and he just seemed so surprised. I could just see his reality change right there in the moment. And I think all of us in the room, we have the power to do this with everybody. And since we're all staying at hotels, this and other ones, it's a chance to make our experience better and to give something back to the people who are here to serve us.
Amen to that as well. Yes, why not? Rashid?
That's a great point that you just made too, and it kind of goes back to what he was saying, and this is one of the things I wanted to bring up. I've actually always emphasized that the most important person in any business or any environment is a person that nobody pays attention to. So the janitor is always the one that I pay attention to. And I've seen that entire shift by giving the attention to, especially during a staff meeting. I've got 18 employees, so during a staff meeting, we just brought on a housekeeping person, and I made the mention of my operations team, and I said, what is the one more critical factor than the operations team? And somebody said, the admin team that answers the phone. And I said, exactly, and who is the one person that's even more important than that? And nobody could understand what I was saying except for one of my nurses who's been with me for 9 years, and she pointed to the new housekeeping person. And her shift, it's exactly what you were saying, and created an entire cascade all the way along. But what I wanted to talk about real quick was something that I mentioned to you that I think is very important for everybody in this room to realize. And one of the gentlemen back there said that we've all kind of experienced some of this at some point. But none of us, I think, have ever realized that it was hypnosis, because I certainly have, if somebody were to ask me 2 days ago, do you have any experience with hypnosis, my answer would have been just a categorical no, absolutely not. I don't have any experience with it. Yet, the story I told you about the cancer patient, the oncological nurse, and what happened with her, that was really conversational hypnosis without even realizing it.
Absolutely.
What you've done is you've actually created a frame for us. And that frame that you've created is something, for me personally, is an answer to an intention that I put out more than 7 years ago.
Wow.
And the intention was that I figure out how to deal with that fifth toxicity, which is that emotional psychological part, which is exactly what this is. And for the rest of you that may not know about this little story that I told Igor, if you allow me, I'll just give a 30-second synopsis of it. A stage 4 breast cancer patient who's actually an oncological nurse. So she's been in oncology for over 35 years herself. She'd gone through chemo, she went through radiation, she went through remission, and a couple years later, basically had the cancer that came back. And at this point, refractory cancer is very difficult to deal with. And she had been assessed and was told that she had less than 6 months to live because her breast cancer had now actually spread to her spleen, her liver, her lungs, her spine, and her scalp. And so she was told there was nothing left. Now, when she came to us, and we've got this on video, and I told Igor I've got it actually on my computer, it's actually on the website too. You actually see her physical demeanor, how bad she looks, but one of the things that we actually have her on video, that's I think 2003, then we have her on video again a year and a half later, 2000, and at the end of 2004, so she's more than a year past her lifespan. Then we have her on video again in 2007, and so there's 3 videos basically over a 4.5-year period. Now, I wasn't there when she was being interviewed, but what was amazing that when I went back and watched the video, because I never watch my patients' videos, when I'm watching this, one statement came through in all 3 videos, all done a year and a half to 3 years apart. And each one of those statements she hadn't heard herself on. There's no way she could have remembered the statement. And that statement was something that I had just thrown out there, and I told her that, I asked her, you're 72 years old, do you care if you're 110 years old and you still have cancer? And she said, no. I said, so from now on I want you to start thinking, instead of you having terminal cancer, you have chronic cancer. Now these were just words, and I have no training. I just said something because, again, H+, I wanted to give her something to hold on to. Little did I realize how powerful those words were. And in her videos, in all 3 videos, she says that exact statement. She said, instead of believing I have chronic cancer, terminal cancer, I now choose to believe I have chronic cancer. So this is a course we're going through, but what you're actually giving us is so much more than a course or even a life skill. You're actually shifting, in my opinion, the universal consciousness, because each one of us is connected, and each one of us is going to go out and be able to further this. So I'm deeply, deeply indebted to you for what you've done, because you've been a direct answer to an intention that I put out, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you for that. Okay, actually, there was one over here first. Go ahead.
My partner was Connie, and she's such a chatty person.
Mm-hmm.
I had the same problem with these 2 ladies over here. It was hard to get control. It was hard to get control and slow her down to get to that magic moment of I don't know. And so I never got to experience that trance or that induction after that, to where you talk directly to the subconscious in that fluid way that you talk about. How do you? I mean, I know you did it over here, but the magic words is the beginning of that. Well, trance state.
It's not so much the magic words at the beginning. You just need a platform. Now, if they start running off on that platform, who's got the attention? Who's in control of that flow? They are. So you want to have that control. So you can do several things. One is what we did yesterday, which is you slow them down by echoing back what they're saying, but much slower.